So I'd heard about this NFT thing and I thought I'd give it a go and try and sell my images, and this is how I went. Now, I want to start by saying I've been selling my work as an artist for about 5 years now, and I've got a few different avenues which I sell my art. So, number one, I've got my print store, which I sell a whole bunch of prints and frames and a few other things. I also sell stock images, licensed images, and video. And I'm also a freelance trigger for hire. So basically, people come to me when they need their camera work done for either photo or video. Now, for a long time now, I've been pretty happy with these avenues of revenue for me. They've done pretty well for me. I looked at NFTs and I thought it was all part of this crypto space, and it was all this Bitcoin where things kind of go up and then things kind of go down. Now, don't get me wrong, I was never against crypto. It's just I didn't know enough about it to really feel like this was part of something that I could be a part of. But more recently, I've been hearing a little bit more about the crypto space and blockchain and how this new technology was basically changing the way people were doing business. But when it came to NFTs, I'd first heard about it about 2 years ago, where a friend of mine told me all about this non-fungible token technology. And as far as I knew, I could only see it as potentially maybe something that we could use to protect our work, but not really an avenue where we could sell our work. Kind of like a watermark or a copyright or something like that. And for me, I've had so many of my images stolen. I even made a video about one of my most used images that was stolen so many times. So I could definitely see that as an option for NFTs. I could see that being used as a way where we could protect our work as artists, but I'm not sure how that technology would roll out, so I couldn't actually see that as being a viable option for me right now. But I mean, who was going to purchase one of my digital images? Like, how was that going to be a thing? And what were they going to do with it? Like, what were they going to print it or resell it or do something else with it? I really didn't know enough about this space to really delve deep into it. And I'd also heard a lot of people talking about like this whole right-click save type of thing. Why can't people just screenshot your image and just use that? Why do they have to use an NFT? So it was all just a little bit too strange for me. And while I stayed fairly close to the whole industry of NFTs and things like that, I really didn't give it too much of my time or my effort because I didn't think the market was mature enough. I didn't really feel like it was worth my time investment. And I also really didn't think anyone was willing to pay me for my images as an NFT either. That was definitely a big part. And honestly, that's the main reason why I came back to NFTs. Artists, photographers, designers, just like me, were starting to sell their art, and they were quitting their jobs and quitting their main sources of income so they could start selling these NFTs. Collectors had started buying art and they were paying real money for it. And we could start seeing this ecosystem being created. And for many of these collectors, it really didn't matter whether the artist had an audience or any clout behind them. I mean, this certainly does help and it can make a difference. But some people were finding collectors and were selling their art for big money without all of those things. But first, let's have a look at the bigger picture. Let's take a step back, and what I'm about to say is you might not agree with, but here's what I think. Our worlds have been slowly becoming more digital. In recent times, you may have heard words like metaverse or the digital world and the like. I mean, Facebook even changed their name to Meta. While you might think, I'm not ever going to be wearing goggles and living out of that world. But if we step back, we can look at an even bigger picture. Are you on social media? Of course you are. I mean, this process has already begun. We're chatting, we're posting, we're essentially living and interacting in a digital world already. I mean, if we just look at how we go to work now, we're doing remote working, we're doing remote classrooms and, studying from home. And the reality is the world is moving towards this place at a lightning pace. Now, if we bring it back to the buying and selling of art and the collecting of art, I mean, this is something that is as old as Moses. People have been doing it for centuries now, and now this is just our latest tweak of it. Now, the beauty of the NFT art form is it's not just a digital form of art, but it's also a version that can be verified. It can be certified as the original version and not just some sort of, right-click save or any just random picture. It's digitally signatured on the blockchain as a verified Ben Mac artwork, and that makes things even more special to collectors. This is the type of stuff that collectors want. I could have a Picasso sitting on my wall and anyone would look at it and go, well, it's probably not a real Picasso, how would he have a real Picasso? And there's really no way of verifying it. Someone can look really closely at it, but they might not realize it's a real Picasso. With NFTs, you can't do that. With NFTs, it's written on the blockchain. It's there for all eternity, for all to see, for all to be verified. We can flex openly that we own the original. Here it is, and people can look at it directly and understand and know that, that person owns the original art piece of that other artist. Even Twitter has made it so that you can verify your profile picture as being a real NFT of whatever it is. It can be verified. You can click through and understand and see the digital signatures that are involved with that. But not only that, now we have collectors who have this unprecedented way of connecting to the artists that they admire. In the past, they would never have this type of access, but now they've got a direct link that's listed on the blockchain saying that they purchased from that person. And not only that, now they have an open dialogue which they can communicate with that artist in many ways. And they also have this special connection where they can support them in ways that no other person has supported them in the past. It's a whole new avenue of funding these artists to continue doing the art that they love. And for me, I think this is an incredibly satisfying feeling for all involved. The collectors have this amazing feeling where they can support artists, and artists can feel like they're being supported and they're being funded in a way that they were never funded before, and they can continue making their art. If anything, it's a pure part of the human spirit, people being helped and people willing to help others. It's just really part of that human interaction that we all crave. And I'm noticing now we're seeing artists who can quit their 9-to-5s and start focusing on their artwork full time. This is something that was never possible before for them. But all of this so far is just the art collecting point of view. There's also an investment side of things. Now, some collectors might identify you as an artist who has potential, but they also see you as someone who has work that might appreciate over time, that could literally blow up. And in the crypto space, this could literally be a matter of weeks or months. For me personally, I know so many artists who start and then within a short period of time, their work has gone from nothing to selling a single image for the price of a single house. Like, that is just mind-blowing. And for those collectors, these types of investor/collectors, they've made a relatively small investment and it's grown exponentially over a relatively short period of time. So who are these collectors? From my experience, I think it's a bit of a mix of a few different types of people. One, it might be an artist who just loves you and wants to support you. It could be an old school 2015 crypto investor whose $5,000 investment is now worth billions of dollars and they're looking to buy art that they really love. It could even be your next door neighbor who just heard about NFTs and wants to be part of this new wave. They don't have a lot of money, but they're willing to invest in something that they feel like could have some exponential growth in the future. It could be savvy art collectors who see your work as a great art flip for the future to make some, extra money from. So let's fast forward to now. It was late last year when I started putting together my first collection. It was lockdown here in Sydney. Pretty much all of my other forms of income had pretty much dried up. So NFTs kind of presented itself as an opportunity for me to start getting into this space, which I, had never really considered before or really had the time commitment for. I decided I would put together a small list of images which I thought would work well as NFTs. Now, I started with about 25 images, a set of shots which kind of I really loved, some of my best and some other ones which I thought would work well in the collection as well. And I decided to sell them on a platform called OpenSea. It's the world's biggest NFT platform. And so naturally for me, I'd seen other people selling on that platform, so I went to that one as well. Now, it's also a platform that doesn't just sell artwork, it sells all sorts of different NFTs. So you're kind of mixed in with all these weird profile pictures as well as art. But for me, I felt like it was the right platform to get started on because you also didn't need an application. You didn't need an invitation from anywhere like some of the other platforms require from you. So anyway, I announced on Twitter that I was going to be releasing a collection of these 25-ish images out into the world. And lo and behold, I had a few people contact me immediately asking for, if they could reserve some of the images that I was putting out there. And this was super surprising for me. I did not expect for people to come back to me and say that they wanted to buy them even before I'd even launched the collection on OpenSea at all. And so because of that, I decided that I was going to run a pre-sale for some of these items before I launched, just so I could gauge the interest. Now, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do or not, but that's how I launched. And I decided to price each of those pre-sales at 0.15 Ethereum, which is worth currently right now this much. You might be watching this video in the future and that Ethereum price could be skyrocketed way higher than this. It could be way lower than this too. And so for once the pre-sale was over, all of the items were then going to be priced at 0.2 Ethereum. And after hanging around in the NFT space and lurking and listening to, what other artists were doing and the space itself, I decided that, this seemed like the right price for me and where I sat in things for where my work sat and what I felt I was comfortable selling my work for. And it was also a price that I felt like, would probably garner some sales as well. Like I could immediately launch this and feel like maybe some people were willing to part with this amount of money to purchase my NFTs. Okay, so let's get down to those exact numbers of how much I sold and how much it was worth. So in the pre-sale portion, which ended up being roughly around 5 days, I sold 9 NFTs for 0.015 Ethereum, which is roughly 1.35 Ethereum. Now, I say roughly because when you sell an NFT and even when you buy an NFT, there are some costs and fees involved, which I'll get to in another video. And after launch, I sold an extra 7 NFTs for a total price of 1.4 Ethereum. So in that first week of me selling NFTs, I had generated a total of 16 NFT sales with a grand total of 2.75 Ethereum, which to me was absolutely just mind-boggling that anyone was willing to pay me this sort of thing for my digital art. So I guess you could say my first week was a bit of a blast, like there was a lot of sales and then, things kind of slowed down. I was still on a roll, but things were slowing down. I was still, I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was, the ball was still rolling. I was still getting sales and, things were going well. But then crickets, nothing. I didn't hear from anyone. I didn't have anyone jump in my DMs asking me about my NFTs. Nothing was really happening. No one was buying my work anymore. And from that point, it took another whole 2 months before I saw another sale. And then the day directly after that one, I got another sale. And so I thought maybe the ball is rolling again. But since then, my collection hasn't seen another single sale. At the time of this recording, I have 5 NFTs available in my first ever collection that are still available to be purchased. So if you want to, maybe support, there's a really great opportunity to jump into my first ever Genesis NFT collection. So jump on in. Link in the description. From my point of view, I felt like I had a pretty good first collection launch and, I've made a few sales. So I'm pretty happy with that. So all in all, up till right now, my collection has sold 21 images for a grand total of 3.5 Ethereum, which is worth absolutely millions. Okay, it's not worth millions, but I'm pretty happy with the way it performed. I'm pretty stoked with the amount of sales that I was to get out of my first ever collection, so I can't complain. So that's not the end of the story just yet. There's a little bit more to this. At the time of launching my OpenSea collection, I'd also received an invite to another platform called Foundation. Now, Foundation is a platform which is strictly for artists and it's only via invitation. So you can only mint on this platform when you have an invitation from another artist who has made a sale on Foundation. And that's kind of how the platform is organically growing its user base. Now, anyone can purchase from there, but no one can mint on there unless you have an invitation. And I dare say it's probably a platform that's a little bit more exclusive. So it generally has a little bit more of the creator's better or more exclusive artwork. So you would expect that some of the artwork that goes on this platform to be a little bit more of a higher quality, or at least what collectors would deem their better work. Now, because of that, we also see some of the artwork that's listed on there be a little bit higher price. So I had minted 2 of my NFTs on there and I posted them at ridiculously much higher prices than I would for my current OpenSea collection. And that's purely because I actually value that work a little bit more than some of the artworks that I put in my OpenSea collection. Okay, so basically what happened was I dropped 1 piece of artwork on there and I priced it at 2.22 Ethereum. It's a weird price, I know, don't hate me. And so far it has not had a single bid. It works on an auction base, so it hasn't had a single bid, and that's basically the end of the story. That's it. So catch you later, see you in the next video. No, not quite yet. So currently that piece does not have a bid on it, and that's fine. I don't anticipate and I don't actually want to sell it for less than what I've priced it because it's one of my more valuable ones. It actually sits on the cover of my upcoming book, so I feel like it's a little bit more prestigious to me. It took a little bit more time to create that piece of artwork. And so I'm happy for that one to not be sold just yet, and wait till it finds the right person who appreciates my work enough to buy it. But I also dropped another piece and I priced it at 0.75 Ethereum. So it's a little bit, it's basically 3 and a little bit times more than what I priced most of my NFTs on my OpenSea collection. And you know what happened with that one? It literally sold only a couple of days after I put it up. Like, what? And for me, that was an incredible feeling. It's something that I have, I worked hard for, and I'm being recognized for some of the art that I'm producing. So for me, that was really satisfying knowing that someone valued my art, that they would pay that amount of money for it. Now, I've personally bought and sold a whole bunch of NFTs from different artists, and a whole bunch of other random NFTs as well for, and I've sold them at a profit and a loss, and some of them I still hold. But if we just look at my personal art collection and how much I've personally sold, all up, I've now sold 4.25 Ethereum worth of NFTs. And so for me, that is a ridiculous amount of money in my first couple of months of just selling these NFTs. So I'm super stoked that this is something that people are willing to support me with. And I'd also like to say that this whole process has been a huge learning curve. With all honesty, I've made plenty of mistakes too. Like I've learned and spent many wasted hours learning in a really slow and tedious way. And there's a whole bunch of things that I probably should have done a lot better. And it's the reason why I'm making this video, and I plan to make more videos after this so people like you, can get a better understanding of this whole NFT space. I have personally onboarded more than 10 people into this space, and some of them have gone on to make great sales and life-changing money from this thing as well. You see, there was no one when I first started making videos like this. No one was out there specifically for artists or people who want to enter this NFT space to create and produce their own art. No one was making, information for them so they don't have to go through the same mistakes as I did. So if that's you and that's something that you're keen on knowing a little bit more about, my only suggestion to you is to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when that next stage of this whole process gets released. And in that next video, I'm going to show you the exact steps on how to get started, from, the beginning of setting up your wallet and transferring funds to all the way through to hopefully making your first sale too. So I look forward to that one. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers. Thank you. Goodbye. Now for years I've been happy with this. Now for a long time now, I've been pretty happy